Good evening, it's meteorologist Michael Fecca. Welcome back to the 9 p.m. all-weather, all-streaming show that we do here every night during the workdays and on weekends. We stream it out to all of our streaming platforms, including Facebook and YouTube. So if you're joining us from either place, please feel free to leave us a question or a comment. Hopefully, I'll be able to address them as I go through the forecast, but if not, I'll go through at the very end and see if I can answer anything individually for you. But let's get started here with a look at our headlines and what we're tracking out here over the next couple of days. Well, tonight we are going to start to see some of that rain begin to push in here later on this evening, and some potential for that mix mainly north of I-64, and this will kickstart a parade of rain and thunderstorm chances through all of next week. So it's just going to be a very soggy week ahead of us here. But let's take a look at what's going on out there across the country right now. We've got this area of high pressure off to our north and this frontal boundary that is sagged just to our south here of the tri-state. And then we've got this area of low pressure that's riding up and along that frontal boundary that is bringing us that potential for precipitation. But here's a look at our Doppler radar. We're already starting to see some of those showers begin to work into portions of southern Illinois, not quite really making it into the tri-state just yet, but this will over the next hour begin to fill in across the area. And it is going to be mostly rain here for us, but again, as that colder air gets pulled in from the north, we may see that potential for mixing with sleet or even some freezing rain there. So some of our extreme northern portions of the tri-state may get a little bit of a glaze out of this, but it transitions all the way back over to rain fairly early tomorrow morning. So I'm not really expecting much impact out of that either. So we aren't under any sort of winter weather alerts here within the tri-state, but just to the north of us where they have the better potential for that mixing with sleet and even some snow, they do have that winter weather advisory, but we do not have any of those alerts in effect for our counties. And looking ahead here at those totals, they continue to kind of trend down here. This ice total continues to keep most of that freezing rain off to our north, so it's still possible we may get a glaze or maybe even a slushy coating in some areas, again, north of I-64, but it really is just looking like mostly rain out there. And with temperatures that have been above freezing here, well above freezing for the last several days, the roads shouldn't really suffer any kind of impacts from that. But let's take a look at what our temperatures got to earlier today. They actually topped out a lot higher than what we were expecting, into the mid to upper 50s in some locations across the tri-state. We topped out at around 58 degrees here in the Evansville area, and temperatures currently settled mostly into the upper 30s to lower 40s in southern Illinois and southwest Indiana. Some folks across western Kentucky still looking at temps in the mid 40s, but 41 there along the river, Mount Vernon, Evansville, Newburgh, out towards Lewisport, 39 to our north there up towards Oakland City and Huntingburg, and then 47 there down towards Greenville. Temperatures will continue to drop down into the mid-30s across the tri-state and into the lower 30s a little bit farther to our north where they have that potential for that mix. But looking ahead to tomorrow, it will be another cooler day out there. We should only warm up into the mid to upper 40s across the tri-state, and we're looking at mostly rain moving in during the morning, becoming more isolated as we head into the afternoon. So the afternoon and evening hours will be drier than what you are going to wake up to earlier tomorrow morning. So let's track everything out here. That rain more widespread through the morning hours, but you'll notice here it becomes very isolated through the afternoon, maybe just picking up on a few spotty showers there headed into Monday evening. But then another frontal boundary will lift to our north headed into early Tuesday morning, so that'll kick off another round of showers headed into Tuesday, and most of that activity then shifts off to our north through Tuesday afternoon and into Tuesday evening. So largely dry through much of the day on Tuesday, but still looking at maybe that isolated shower or two through the afternoon. But as I said before, we're not expecting rain every second of every day here through the next week. We just have that potential each day for that rainfall, and it continues not only through the work week, but it also goes into next weekend and even into the following week here. So there is not a whole lot of dry time to talk about here over the next 7 to 10 days. But here's a look at some of the longer range model runs here. Again, we'll have that chance for showers continuing there into Wednesday, especially Wednesday night into Thursday morning as a cold front moves in from the west. And then that frontal boundary drops to our south again, headed into early Friday morning, but lifts northward through Friday and into early Saturday morning, and then another cold front moves in here headed into Saturday. That'll bring in another potential for some showers and thunderstorms headed into the weekend and into the start of next week. Now, in terms of the amount of rainfall we're going to get here over the next week, it continues to show a widespread 2 to maybe even 4 inches of rain over the course of the next 7 days. And for the most part, it looks like areas over southern Illinois and southwestern Indiana get the highest amounts. Portions of western Kentucky, especially the extreme southern counties there, Hopkins, Muhlenberg, and Ohio counties, not expected to get as much, but still plentiful rain to go around here across the tri-state through next week. And it is going to be mostly beneficial because we have been very dry here across the tri-state this winter. It was actually the 11th driest winter here in the Evansville area and the 5th driest February on record. And areas that are expected to see the most rain from this system are also the areas that are included within that moderate to severe drought. So while we do have that potential for thunderstorms and maybe even some isolated risks of flooding, it does look like a lot of those flooding risks have backed off some Wednesday and Thursday, but they're still possible, especially with multiple rounds of heavy rainfall through all of next week. So it doesn't look like it'll be a widespread issue, but it's still possible that we have some flooding problems to contend with. Now, I mentioned that this rain or parade of rain chances through next week doesn't come to an end through the weekend. It actually continues into the following week here, and the hazard outlook continues to paint a very large area across the Ohio and Mississippi River valleys for heavy precipitation possible Monday, March 9th through Thursday, March 12th. And what that looks like on our longer range models here, it continues to show just a stream of heavy rainfall there into Monday and into Tuesday, and possibly even into Wednesday of next week before it all kind of dries out by the middle of the following week. So again, not a whole lot of dry time, not a whole lot of sunshine on the board here for the next 7 days. That's why I really emphasized taking advantage of the sunshine Friday, Saturday, and even the sunshine we had earlier today was really nice to get outside and just enjoy the outdoors while you could, because there's not going to be a whole lot of time to do that through next week. But let me go ahead and take this full screen, and also not to mention we do spring forward here Saturday night and into Sunday of next week. So we'll finally lose an hour of sleep, but we'll gain an hour of sunlight at the end of the day. But let me take a look at some of your comments here to see if you guys have any questions for me. Missy says, hello spring, bring on the storms. She is excited for them. Suzanne says, rain is coming. The farmers need this rain. Yes, they do, especially this time of year as we're headed into the springtime and summer. Zach asking if severe thunderstorms are expected tomorrow or most of this upcoming work week. Is it going to be a complete washout, on and off periods of rain? It is going to be more on and off with periods of rain, not a complete washout every day. Again, we're not looking at rain every second of every day. We're just looking at that potential each and every day. And in terms of severe thunderstorms, we're not looking at that potential for tomorrow, but there is the potential there towards the second half of the work week and into next weekend where those thunderstorm icons are. Again, anytime there's the potential for thunderstorms, there's always the potential that some of them become severe. As of right now, we're not outlooked for any severe weather, and there's not any glaring signal for organized severe weather, but this is something where you really got to take it day by day. It's all dependent on those frontal boundaries that continue to drift back and forth across the tri-state. So if we see a little bit more instability towards the end of next week, it certainly is possible we see some severe weather, but it's not like we're expecting any sort of outbreaks here at this time. But we'll keep an eye on things, of course, and we'll let you know how things trend going through the work week. Angie says, okay, Mother Nature went off her meds again. Yeah, this is what happens in March. Unfortunately, a lot of the times we're excited for March because it marks the beginning of spring, but March is one of those crazy months where it could really swing either way. And in this particular start to the month. We're looking at a very warm and soggy one out there, but there is even the potential and even a signal that we cool back down headed towards the middle and end of the month of March. So it may just be, complete swings in the pattern here during these transition months. Cheyenne says, good evening. Brandon says, do you think we'll be done with winter? Again, can't completely rule it out here. Winter goes until the March 20th, March 21st. So we are, still a couple of weeks away from when winter officially ends. But, it can still snow in March. It might not be a lot and it might not accumulate to much, but winter can definitely still rear its ugly head here. But at least through the next week and a half, we're not really looking at any potential for winter weather. We're really more focused on the warm weather, the rain, and the thunderstorms through the next week and a half. Carolyn is asking, will southern Indiana see ice or just rain? Depending on where you are, most of our coverage area here in southern Indiana will see just plain old rain. However, there is that potential for folks north of I-64, areas into Wayne, Edwards, Wabash, Gibson County as well, Pike, out towards Du Bois County, especially along the northern ends of those counties, you could still see that potential for mixing with sleet or freezing rain. But again, it's really not going to accumulate to much of anything at all because the ground is still above freezing, even though our air temperatures may be dropping to around freezing in those locations. So it really shouldn't have much of an impact, especially for your morning commute, because by the time we wake up tomorrow morning, a lot of what we would have seen as a brief period of mix would change back over to rain at that point. Jake Daniel says, we saw snow in April. Yes, April can even be a little bit of a tricky month. Now, that's a little bit too far out in the future to be certain on anything, but of course, April is also a crazier month, but that's when our attention really turns more towards severe weather season, which, speaking of which, it does kick off here this week. March 1st is Severe Weather Preparedness Week, so you definitely want to make sure you're freshening up on your severe weather precautions, where you're going to go in the event you're placed under a warning. If you're at home, if you're at work, if you're at school, a lot of schools are practicing their drills in the upcoming weeks as well. So just getting into the groove of things as we head into the spring season. And of course, obviously just preparing for anything that may come your way. And of course, we'll always be here to let you know of any threats as they head our way. But again, we're looking at potential for mostly just rain and some thunderstorms this week. Of course, there is that potential occasionally for maybe a marginal or slight risk for some severe weather to emerge. But as of right now, it doesn't look like we have any huge severe weather threats headed our way for the next week or so. But that is all I've got here for the forecast. So I'm going to hop off the live stream and I'll send you guys over to 14 News at 10 for all the latest news and weather headlines. Until then, everybody, stay safe and have a great rest of your night.